Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, then welcome to my channel. I am so excited for each and every one of you to be here. This message is very important to me and I can't wait to share. So if you haven't done so already, then please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get right to it. I know that this can be a very difficult topic and I want to be very sensitive in the way that I describe it. So I do want to preface this video by saying that everything that I talk about is my own personal experience, what anxiety looks like for me, how I have struggled with it, and how, by the grace of God, I am being freed from it. I also want to note that I am not a doctor. When I tell you things that have helped me become free from anxiety, I'm sharing them with you in hopes that in some way, maybe one of those things or a few of those things could also help you find some relief. These things aren't going to work for everyone. Everyone is different. Everyone requires different treatment. Everyone's anxiety is different. Hopefully, maybe in some way or another, one of these things could help provide a little bit of relief, but please do not substitute for other doctor prescribed treatment options, whether counseling or medication. But with all of that being said, let's jump right in. I felt that it was only right for me to talk about what has helped bring me out of anxiety, is to talk about what mine actually looks like and what I kind of struggle with on a day-to-day basis. So I was never a person who had anxiety at all. Like, yeah, I had nervousness or whatever, but it wasn't anything like what I have suffered from probably the last year and a half. So I'm not really sure when I first noticed that I was having anxiety attacks. I don't really remember like a split moment of when I first realized that something was different, but I did start having these kind of minor attacks, just like I would be sitting somewhere and totally at random, all of this panic and fear would like rush over me, and I would have to like run outside or go find somewhere where I could just breathe and pray and really just try to overcome whatever this intense moment was. So after about a year of continuing with these attacks, I experienced what I call like the big attack, right? Like this big one that was just the worst thing I've ever experienced, and it was completely terrifying and something I wasn't used to. So it was actually finals week of my freshman year of college, go figure. Obviously, I was underneath a lot of stress that I wasn't used to. So I was sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden like this rush came over me of panic, of like suffocation. I felt very like unable to focus on anything. In addition to all these feelings, I also was getting this really bad headache. And I'm not a person who's ever suffered from migraines, thank the Lord. I've never suffered from migraines, so to feel this like intense feeling in my head while I have this panic coming over me, while I have this like suffocating feeling coming over me, while I'm like unable to focus, I was scared. I was like, why is my brain, like, why does this feel like this? It hurts so bad. Like I can't see, you know, and of course these are all things that just come with having a migraine, but I wasn't used to migraines. So on top of my anxiety attack, I had no idea what was happening to my body. I kept trying to go to different places so that I could find this place where I was able to breathe and escape whatever stress was causing this, and I couldn't. Right, nowhere I went was I able to feel a release. Nowhere I went was I able to not feel anxiety. It was just this constant suffocation, panic, like I don't even know how else to describe it other than it was terrifying. So what comes next after I finish finals is I'm starting an internship the next week. So then of course I'm in this new internship, I'm in this completely new environment with a new commute, living back at home again, you know, doing new work that I'm not familiar with, having just finished finals week, and my anxiety just wouldn't go away. Each and every single day I had these pounding migraines which came with panic attacks because I was so unfamiliar to this and I really thought something was wrong, like physically. And this was just a whole new world. You know, it was really hard first starting out at my job because I was trying to learn all these new things. But it was hard for me to just focus and hold conversations with people because the whole time I was holding a conversation, all I was thinking about was when that conversation was going to be over so I could breathe. It was just all so scary. Essentially, this continued on for like another month and a half. Remember, I had never felt anything like this. So now for the next month and a half, I have constant migraines, like severe pounding headaches. I have constant like suffocating feeling. It's to the point where every day I was getting up from my desk multiple times a day to go to the bathroom and just breathe or do a lap around the office, just try to find some escape. And there were a few times where I had to call off work. I didn't feel like I could make it into work because my anxiety felt so crippling and like it just weighed me down so much to a point where it's not like I wanted to do a mental health day to reset and refresh so that I could focus more at work, but it was I couldn't come in. So I've shared what it has looked like for me, and I kind of just want to share what it looks like right now. So right now I'm doing a lot better by literally the grace of God. I've been able to overcome it a good bit. So I just kind of want to talk about what those things are for me. Again, not saying these will work for you. Please do not substitute these for any treatment or anything a doctor would tell you. However, maybe give some of them a try and see if you can find a little bit of relief like I have. So number one, something that has completely tremendously helped me is being intentional in my relationships. Genuinely like checking on people and genuinely making time to spend time with friends and just talk about what's going on in your life and in their life, and being a support system and having a support system through your companionship. Something the lead pastor at my church has said is that he will never have time for another meeting, but he will always have time for friends. So I understand that it can be really hard to work around busy schedules with school and work and life, but if you make just a little bit of time to just spend time with people who are going to build you up, people who really are there for you and people you can really lean on and they can lean on you, I do believe that you can notice a huge transformation and a huge amount of relief from anxiety. We are not called to go through life alone. We're not called to live it alone. We are not called to have no one to lean on. We are called to have relationships. So recently I've actually made a new friend. I have known her for a very long time, but we were never close. And recently she started coming to my church, and she messaged me one day while I was at work and was like, hey, are you doing anything later tonight? Like, I would love to hang out. Now, usually having anxiety, it would tell me like I can't do that. But I was really encouraged. I really believe in intentional relationships, and I was like, you know what? I am gonna come hang out. So her and I went and got coffee, and we read the Bible, and we sat there and talked for like 3 hours. And it was just a beautiful time to connect and lean on another woman, having those intentional relationships, ones where I really feel like I can count on people, and I know that they can count on me. And I know things that are going on in their life. Having those intentional relationships makes the burden not so heavy to bear, right? All these things that I was going through, I felt like I was so alone, but just by having intentional friendships where you're making sure that you're spending quality time with them every now and again, and you're checking on them and actually asking them, like some days just sending them a text saying, hey, you're on my heart, how are you? Having those relationships have set me free. I've been able to overcome a great bit of the anxiety that I used to struggle with every day. Being intentional, period, has really helped me, not just in my friendships, but also in my devotion time with God, whether in prayer or in reading His Word. So a lot of times when I used to pray, it was very rushed, right? We just rush through life, say a quick little prayer before I go to bed, Probably not pray when I wake up until like a while later into the day when I need something. Like, that's kind of what my prayer life used to look like. Where now I'm much more intentional about it, right? I sit down at night and I really think of all the things that he has done for me, and I thank him for those things. When I wake up now, I know sometimes it can be hard, but I make sure to like not grab my phone right away, but instead just like spend a few minutes just praying to him, thanking him for the day, praying that he would be with me throughout the day, no matter what I go through, and just thanking him again for waking me up and for blessing me with this life that I get to live. So being intentional just in my prayer time has really, I think, lifted a lot of the burden off of me, because I'm remembering to lay it at his feet each morning and every night and throughout the day. The next thing, being intentional in reading my Bible. This one I really struggled with for a long time. Like, I was going to church for, over a year. And I really wasn't reading my Bible all that much. By only receiving a Sunday message, I wasn't receiving all that I needed to constantly be able to feel his presence like I am now by reading his word every day. I really try to read the Bible every single day. My favorite time to do it is in the morning. I feel like it really resets my brain and just gives me a fresh start to a new day when I get to hear from him first. The reason that reading the Bible is so important, and again, 5 months ago, I wasn't like never reading. So I understand if you're in a place where you feel like you just can't, it's just not interesting. I understand where you are. It's where I was. But if you really just stick it out and really push through, you will fall in love with reading the Bible. So one of my friends, he is a member in the church. He's the leader of the area that I serve in church. He kind of has this way of explaining it, which I kind of like because it helps me understand why I really love reading the Bible. First and foremost, if you want to hear from God, the easiest way to hear from God is by reading the Bible, because it's his word, right? It's what he wants you to hear. It's things about him. It's a beautiful way for you to get to know him and start to learn what his voice sounds like. So what my friend always says is, if I was trying to have a discussion with someone who spoke a different language than me, it could be very hard, right? Because I don't know that language, and our conversation might not be as productive as it would be had I known how to speak their language. And reading the Bible is kind of in that way. While talking to God is so easy, because all you have to do is just speak out into the open. Really hearing from him can be difficult, because the easiest way to hear from him is by reading his word. And through reading his word, you learn his language. So if I'm having this discussion where I'm constantly talking at God, and I don't know what his voice sounds like, then it's not going to be all that productive. But once I read more and I dive more into the word, you start to learn what his voice sounds like, and that conversation becomes more of a two-way conversation than just constantly speaking out in the open and feeling like you're not hearing from him. God wants to speak to you. He wants you to hear what he is saying, but sometimes it literally just takes you opening his word and discovering what he is saying to you for yourself. I truly believe that this is what has set me free the most. Beforehand, I just thought, wow, this is boring. I can't get into this book. What is this doing for me, right? Like, those are that's my flesh talking to me, telling me lies that this book wasn't going to be able to set me free, right? What could I get out of this book? However, in learning that I can hear from him by opening these pages, it's like all I ever want to do, right? If I go a day and I don't open the Bible, which happens, right? That happens. I feel not as connected with my Father, right? Like, that's been the most freeing thing. It's just to feel close to him. And I feel close to him, of course, when I, pray and through worship. But the way I feel the closest to him is by opening his word and finding out what he wants to tell me, by reading the Bible on a consistent basis, by having intentional friendships, by praying intentionally. I'm waking up each day with less anxiety. I'm having less anxiety attacks at work. Actually, I went like 3 days really with no big attack, maybe feeling anxious a little bit. And that's amazing to me, to be able to go 3-4 days with no major attack, where it was where I was having them like 3-4 times a day. That's progress, that's growth, and that's healing. And I know that all of that is absolutely thanks to God in heaven and thanks to Jesus Christ. That is why I'm experiencing this healing that I am. I was talking to my friend about this before, where I was hearing of these people being like literally set free from anxiety because of God, and I couldn't understand why that wasn't happening to me, right? I didn't even develop anxiety really until I became a Christian, right? It all happened at the same time, and then the closer I got with God, it felt like my anxiety was getting worse, and I couldn't figure out, like, people say God set you free, why was I not feeling free? But I think it's just because I wasn't being intentional. I was praying and asking for freedom from anxiety, but the only time I was hearing from God and really making a point to hear from him was Sunday mornings. And with that, while I might feel better and refreshed after church, I was still struggling throughout the week. So again, just by having these intentional relationships with your friends, with God, with prayer, with worship, I truly believe that you can start to feel some relief, just as I have. Most of all, what I really just want to share is just being vulnerable. Really open up and embrace vulnerability. I'm not saying you have to go and tell your story and what you're struggling with to each individual that you come across. You know, just by opening up and saying, I don't feel good today, I am struggling today mentally. By opening up and just being vulnerable to those things, they can't really chain you down in ways that they used to. Anxiety is not something we are called to walk in. It's not something we are supposed to live with, right? I think sometimes things like this become like trendy or acceptable, and people talk about them like they're not these really hard things to go through and these actual illnesses. And I think also a lot of times the more you get used to something, it's like comfortable, right? It's like my anxiety is comfortable because it's starting to become what I know. And it seems like it's always there, it's what I know. As much as it cripples me and I hate it, it's like that can start to become comfortable because it's what you're used to. But those are not the fruits that we are meant to bear. Just by sharing with you guys and with everyone I share with, each time I do that, I'm being broken free of these chains that are trying to hold me down, and I'm being able to enjoy the fruits that the Lord has blessed us with, and the fruits that I'm supposed to enjoy. The last thing I wanted to mention that has really helped me with being vulnerable and with intentional relationships is asking others to pray for you and praying for others. I truly believe in prayer. I believe that prayer works absolute miracles, and through prayer we can receive healing. So while again it's amazing to wake up and pray about these things each morning and lay them at God's feet, we shouldn't expect to be the only one to carry the weight and to carry that prayer. It's okay to text your friends and say, I really need prayer for this. Can you be praying for this, and how can I pray for you? God hears your prayers. He responds to our faith, and by having other people with strong faith and people who really believe in the power of prayer, having them praying for you while you're praying as well, God hears you and God responds to that faith, and He wants to bring healing. And even if it's showing you what you need to do to receive healing, He will provide that for you and He will come to you. So I think that's all I have for this video. I really enjoyed making this video because it's something I never thought I'd be able to open up about and share so freely and share so much vulnerability. But I really know and trust in the way that God has moved in my life, and I really pray that some of these things that I share are able to help you, or at least that through watching this video you know that you're not alone. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, then please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching the video, watching any of my videos, and I really can't wait to just sit down again and talk about whatever is on my heart next. I really appreciate and truly love all of you, so thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.